support
Right.
the system.
Right.
So I just say, well, I have two jobs.
There you go. Yep. That's right.
And it sort of like gets, I mean, just right there, that is, where you can actually just set the stage, as it were, to say
Yeah.
you can set this precedent where there's an actual distinction between
Yep.
what one does for money and what one does for humanity.
Yep.
Because because I sometimes like to switch that around and ask people that. I ask them, what do you do? And they say, oh, well, I'm a plumber or whatever. And then I go, oh, sorry, I didn't clarify. I meant, what do you do for humanity?
Man, that's so good. That's so good.
And they're just like, do you know what? All right, and automatically, like half of the time, the cognitive dissonance comes out where they're like, well, I don't actually do anything. I haven't got the time. And I'm just like, well, is that because you don't care, or is it because you're being held back from actually doing something? And they're like, well, yeah, I am being held back.
Yeah.
So there's so many different ways. You could even use the questions that other people ask you to set a stage for, at least facilitating the discussion about social change.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, have you found that there's particular because I mean, one of the things that I'm thinking about doing soon is a short video series of like short videos that are maybe a minute long or something, and they comprise two characters and they're talking about something, and then all of a sudden one of the people in the video drops what I like to call a logic bomb, and it just completely reshapes the conversation. Would you say that there are any particular logic bombs that help you, if you do use them?
Technological unemployment.
Yeah. So
That's
is it
what.
just the phrase itself, or
Oh, a logic bomb? Oh, yeah. It just the jobs aren't coming back. No, I guess just a quaint little. No, my go-to is technological unemployment. If we require on labor to live, and machines are taking away the labor, what do you think is going to happen? To me, that's the go-to.
Yeah, I mean the main thing I say about technological unemployment is more or less that, and then I say, so this leads us on to the conclusion really here is that we have made either one of two different mistakes. Number one, we have allowed technology to develop to the point of making our human labor obsolete and thus the end of our lives as we know it. Or number two, we have created a system that is threatened inherently by the natural evolution of technology. And that sort of like, gets them thinking, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of like nodding a few heads. And I'm just like, would you like a leaflet? Yeah, there's so many different ways that you could just like hack into people's brains and just like, install a little piece of software.
I love it, Adam. You're really inspiring me, man. I want to get more leaflets now because I mean, I could easily keep leaflets on me, and it's just a tactic that I've never really gone with, and I have almost done it a couple of times, and man, it's really something that could be done pretty quick and quick passing,
Yeah.
So I could do it throughout my day more often than having to put on the activist hat. And it's like, okay, for the next 6 hours, it's just,
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things that the listeners would probably be aware of right now, that earlier in this podcast, we actually just a moment ago played one of Tyson's get downs, and just for those of you listening to this on your MP3 players, then you've missed out on Tyson getting down and dirty, but but no, not that much, but yeah, just thought I'd add that into the mix for those of you who are listening on your MP3 players and wondered what you've just missed on the video version. But if you want to go to the YouTube version, you'll find it on there. But back to the discussion. Yeah, I've found that I always keep at least 5 leaflets, depending on where I'm going. Like, say for example, if I'm going out to, I don't know, maybe a party or something, I'll probably take about 20 leaflets. But other than that, if I'm just going shopping, then I'll just take 2. Just in case if I get talking to the person working at the checkout, and maybe someone else I might bump into in the street or something. But leaflets is always good. The only thing with leaflets though is that they I've tried with the leaflet that I've got, and I can send you the Word document for that makes up the template for the leaflet that I give out, because I basically typed up my own leaflet, like with my own information. But I found that I've tried with that one to have it as a sort of like general overall sort of jack of all trades, as it were, of flyers. But I found with people, like say for example, you give them a DVD. If it's, say for example, a DVD of Zeitgeist Moving Forward, for example, then that is, 2 hours 41 minutes of loads of different information covering loads of different aspects, and a one size fits all, as it were, leaflet can do the same thing as well. But also I found that I'm starting to think about whether I should actually create different kinds of flyers, like say for example a flyer that is mainly focused on technological unemployment, a flyer that is solely based on the nature versus nurture thing. There's a whole range of different flyers that I could actually make.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, maybe having one of each of those on your all times, if you have big enough pockets, that is. But yeah, I found doing that sort of thing is good, and also business cards as well. I've thought about getting business cards. But yeah, just like saying, "Oh yeah, take my card."
I like it.
You can give it. You can give them a sort of like wink and say, "Yeah, take my card."
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, we're actually starting to run out of time for this podcast now. So, Tyson, I'd like to thank you again for coming on, dude. Is there anything that you'd like the audience to know about? Any websites that you want to recommend, or things that you're doing at the moment that you would like people to check out?
I think I'd just like to say that, being an activist, it takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of courage, the most courage, is what I've found, to really, because being an activist, you're really strongly going against the social grain, and to not give up or burn out, but to still, though, make it a type of practice in your life. And Adam, you're doing such a fantastic job. I really appreciate the second part of this interview, and because it's just focusing on activism and different ways we can remain active. And so you've totally inspired me to become more active, man.
Oh, thanks, dude. Well, that's the thing. I mean, that's why I bring individuals like yourself on, because you yourself have done so much stuff. I mean, watching back through the Tyson TV and the Zeitgeist Live, all that stuff. It's energizing material because you have that energy. And I mean, we covered on part 1 of this interview how you yourself maintain a positive attitude, and that's one of the main things that does actually enable us to do our job easier. So someone like yourself, you have been successful in your activism because you have that positive and engaging attitude where people don't see you as a threat, because you have that openness in your behavior. But,
you're absolutely right. I would throw on there, we talked about this a little bit. I did about 40 radio shows, and if you just Google the new paradigm with my name, Tyson Eberly, The New Paradigm.
Hmm.
Those, they're archived. And same way, man, I understood that, okay, if I'm going to reach people, I really need to attract them with my energy and pizzazz and personality and life, and really like do it with a smile, do it with some inspiration and some encouragement and some hope. And
Yeah, man.
so I found success doing my activism by really staying close to those principles right there.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean the radio show that Tyson has just mentioned, I'll include a link to that in the video description of the YouTube version as well. So if you guys want to check out those radio shows, I mean I myself haven't listened to them yet, but I will get onto them and check them out.
It's funny because there's a split that happened with my first TV show and my radio show that I was doing. It's like as soon as Zeitgeist Addendum came out, because I was doing the TV show previous to that, and then as soon as Zeitgeist Addendum came out, all I could talk about on my radio show, my TV show now, was the new understandings I was learning from the Venus Project.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Well, yeah, I mean.
So
yeah, I mean, that was,
so people when they check out your radio show, they can actually track the genesis of when you came across this information and the effect that it had.
And the effect that it had on me. Exactly.
Yeah. So, because I've noticed that with Neil Kiernan as well, who hosts V Radio. I mean, for those of you listening who want to check this out, Neil Kiernan, otherwise known as VTV online. He has a radio show called V Radio. If you go to v-radio.org, I think, and check that out. He used to be a libertarian candidate. I think he was specifically a minarchist to begin with. But he already had a show, and then he watched Zeitgeist Addendum, and then you can just see a complete flip in his thinking towards real positive true change. But yeah, I'm afraid this is all the time we have for this particular podcast. Good. Yeah, it was really, really good, Tyson. I really enjoyed it. So I'd like to thank you again for coming on. It was really good. Thank you to everyone also for listening, and check out loads of Tyson's stuff. He is a talented dude. He really is. But anyway, just to close this out now, if you want to check out another one of my shows called Adam's Musings, go to www.ukcollapseradio.com, and you can listen to my Adam's Musings show there. There's a link on there to the TalkShoe page where I've uploaded all the podcasts for that one. Also, this podcast was brought to you by the Slap Hat, the headgear that can assert a little logic into a conversation by dealing a physical incentive to a belligerent person who you may be talking to. If you go to www.slashdathat.com/AAUTZM and enter the code name Adam, you can get yourself 17% off your very first purchase of the Slap Hat. So that's the announcements. As for the next show, I'm going to have Jen Wilding back on, the beautiful and brilliant Jen Wilding, and we're going to be concluding our activism discussion. But as for this podcast, this is all the time we have. So thank you again, Tyson, for coming on. And thank you, everyone, again for listening. So it's a goodbye from me. And say goodbye, Tyson.
Goodbye, Adam. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much.